On behalf of our country, I want to just let you know, anytime you have any question, any doubt, anything you want, any favors you need, anything I can do to help Japan, we will be there. We are an ally at the strongest level.
This is the perfect time for President Trump to meet the moment with his famous deal-making skills and master negotiating to end this shutdown.
President Donald Trump currently on his way to Asia for a high-stakes tour of the region.
Okay. Government will be here when you get...
Desi Lydic just roasted Trump with the force of 10,000 malfunctioning teleprompters and the emotional damage of a canceled golf membership. Birds froze midair. Siri practically needed therapy. And even Trump's spray tan seemed to give up for a moment. The internet is struggling to recover, and the memes are only making things funnier. How out of pocket was she? What sparked this explosive comedy strike? If curiosity isn't eating you alive already, it definitely will in the next 10 seconds.
Today, Trump was in South Korea, where he was dismayed to learn that the hot demon hunter babes are in fact not real people. But don't worry, he still got a warm welcome, and the South Koreans even honored our rich American heritage.
Before we go any further, smash that like button and hit subscribe. You know you don't want to miss what's coming. Chaos didn't just walk into the room today. It marched in wearing glittery boots and blasting a megaphone, because Desi Lydic delivered the kind of comedic demolition that could make architects cry. There are political takedowns, and then there's whatever unfolded when she decided reality needed a reminder that satire isn't just alive, it hits the gym.
Donald Trump is spending the week in Asia, and today he was in Japan to meet their new Prime Minister, Sanae Takaichi. She's Japan's first female Prime Minister. She's also their first Japanese female.
The moment she started, the atmosphere flipped into a full-blown comedic hurricane. Somewhere, a microwave beeped in pure panic. A bald eagle clutched its pearls. Even the internet paused to stretch before trying to keep up. Trump, ready in spirit, though definitely not in execution, ended up standing in the spotlight like someone who showed up in costume, only to realize the event was actually a thesis presentation.
Trump touching down in South Korea, greeted with the YMCA on the tarmac.
Unbelievable. The Village people must be so proud that their song became America's official presidential anthem.
Every joke from Desi hit with the weight of overdue karma, and not the soft, spiritual kind. This was the type of karma that shows up on a budget motorcycle, demands the aux cord, and blasts dramatic theme music on loop. The roasting didn't build up gently.
Praise on President Trump and vowed to make new investments in the U.S.
Very strong handshake. So if you see any weird bruises on my hand, that's why.
So apparently Donald Trump just walked straight into a verbal battlefield, and guess who was standing there with a full arsenal? Yep, Desi Lydic. And let me tell you, this wasn't your average row stir-some-light jab on a late-night segment. This was demolition, a full-on, professional-grade, bring-in-the-cranes kind of destruction. The kind of destruction where architects nod in appreciation at how cleanly everything collapses. First off, timing. Trump has this uncanny skill for inserting himself into absolutely any conversation, invited or not. The man could walk into a funeral and somehow make it about himself, and bizarrely, no one would even question it. But Desi, she didn't just blink. She pointed, laughed, and handed him a full blueprint for self-sabotage. Her precision was almost surgical. You could practically hear the gears grinding in Trump's head as he tried to figure out whether this was a joke, a personal attack, or the opening scene of his next campaign ad. And he failed at all three at the same time. And it didn't start small. Oh no, this was calculated. A cinematic unraveling of a political ego that thinks tweets count as legislative victories. Desi didn't tiptoe. She didn't whisper, maybe this is questionable. She grabbed the entire concept of Trump, shook it like a dusty rug, and just to make sure no nuance got lost, she layered on the kind of exaggerated irony that would make Shakespeare rethink his entire approach to satire. You know that moment when someone steps on stage and you think, wow, they could end a career in 30 seconds and still make it look effortless? That was Desi.
This gold crown to you on this joyous occasion of your state visit to Cheongju.
Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate it.
Wow, a golden crown. What a lovely, thoughtful gift for our...
And the audience. Oh, the audience. You know that rare kind of laughter that's equal parts admiration and disbelief? That's what was filling the room. People weren't just laughing, they were reconsidering every past interaction they'd ever had with Trump. Some poor soul probably even Googled mid-laugh, wait, did Trump actually say that again? And yes, he probably did. But by the time anyone processed it, Desi had already jumped to the next devastating highlight. Let's talk style for a moment. Desi's delivery is this perfect blend of sweet sarcasm and professional-grade scathing commentary. It's the kind of performance where you think, oh, this is just a cute little insult, and then suddenly, boom, an ego meltdown disguised as comedy. Trump, meanwhile, is like a walking press release with emotions. Predictable, rehearsed, the human version of bold text in Comic Sans. But Desi? She's unpredictable. She's electric. She's the verbal tornado in designer heels. Now imagine Trump's brain trying to make sense of it. There's probably a tiny part of him screaming, "How dare she?" While another part whispers, "This might actually be good for ratings." And the rest of him just waving his tiny arms like a kid caught stealing cookies.
But this is how it's been at every stop on the trip. Trump arrives, they throw a big party for him, then they immediately try to buy his affection with gifts. So South Korea, what do you got?
Korean President Lee lavishing Trump with gifts, including a replica of a gold...
And here's the thing. Desi didn't even raise her voice. She didn't have to. The strength of her satire came from the calm, almost casual way she dismantled him point by point, like she was patiently explaining the rules of checkers to someone trying to play chess in the middle of a football game. And the jokes, the jokes. They weren't just funny, they were brutally sharp in that way that makes you laugh but also squirm a bit because you know the subject is aware and probably furious. The kind of jokes that make you think, wow, someone crafted that in a way that hurts but also entertains. That's an art form, a rare mix of wit, timing, and insight. Trump's idea of timing is showing up late to a photo op and calling it leadership. Desi's timing? It's a scalpel. Precision strikes. Every pause, every facial expression, every tiny tilt of her head was perfectly calibrated for maximum impact. And it wasn't just the humor. Desi tapped straight into the absurdity of Trump's own persona. She didn't need to invent anything. The man is a walking punchline factory. But she curated it, highlighted it, spotlighted it in a way that made the ridiculousness undeniable. You can ignore it, you can scoff, you can try to spin it online, but the footage exists, frozen in digital amber, capturing the exact moment when satire hit its ultimate target. There was also something to be said about the energy shift in the room.
An art form. And the master of this is Donald Trump. He knows the art of altercation like the back of his totally normal hand. Trump's faced many worthy opponents, Hillary Clinton, laws, even his own neck.
You know that feeling when someone walks into a room all confident, only to get schooled in the most public way possible? That was Trump's energy. It was like stepping into a chess game and realizing your opponent is 3 moves ahead inside your head while you're still figuring out how the pawns move. And Desi didn't just win the round, she rewrote the rulebook mid-game. And it wasn't only about laughs. This was subtle commentary, a masterclass in mixing humor with critique without losing the audience. There's a real skill in pointing out flaws in someone's logic, decisions, and character while keeping people laughing. And Desi did it like a circus acrobat doing triple backflips on a tightrope above a pit of snapping crocodiles. Meanwhile, Trump's attempts to respond probably involved a series of confused gestures and an internal monologue screaming, "Why are they laughing at me? Am I supposed to be in on the joke?" Spoiler alert, he wasn't. But let's be real, part of what made this so deliciously effective was the absurdity factor. Trump thrives on chaos, unpredictability, controversy. But here's the twist. He met someone who turned his own chaotic energy back on him like a verbal mirror. That's also a flamethrower.
It was to discuss critical trade agreements and reaffirm our alliances. But first, Donnie gets presents.
Takaichi, even at this bilateral meeting, we saw her gift Trump a golf club. She also gifted him a gold.
It's the kind of thing that makes you wonder if there should be a training manual, a how to handle Trump when he thinks he's untouchable survival guide for satire. Desi basically wrote the first chapter, and it's all killer, no filler. And the aftermath? Social media exploded. People who normally scroll past political commentary suddenly had to stop, pause, and process. Meanwhile, somewhere in his gold-trimmed office, Trump is probably shaking his head while his aides quietly cringe, realizing yet again that someone publicly dismantled his narrative using nothing but words and flawless comedic timing. Here's the thing, Desi didn't just roast Trump for laughs. She made a statement that says, yes, this is ridiculous. Yes, it's embarrassing. And yes, we're all going to enjoy watching you try to recover while we sip our coffee. It's a rare blend of intellect and comedy. The kind that leaves a mark not just in headlines, but in collective cultural memory. People will replay this, quote this, and probably use it as proof in future arguments about why certain personalities should never be left unchecked on live television.
And after the gift giving, it was time for some ceremony. So the Prime Minister showed off her new friend Trump to a gathering of uniformed soldiers. We see here in this solemn moment of respect, two allies totally in sync. Wait.
And honestly, part of what makes this so satisfying is the sheer inevitability. Trump is like a movie villain who's just a little too confident in his monologues. Desi stepped onto the scene and treated it like a professional critique session, with the added bonus of making it absolutely hilarious. It's the perfect storm, a target who's absurdly easy to satirize, paired with a performer who knows exactly how to wield words like weapons, and a public that can't get enough. Even the way she handled potential backlash was flawless. You know how some comedians tiptoe around sensitive topics, afraid of being canceled? Desi navigated it like a tightrope walker with jet thrusters. Trump will try to spin it, pretend it didn't happen, maybe blame some vague media conspiracy, but the truth remains. The footage exists. The laughter exists. The proof of being spectacularly outclassed exists. And in the court of public opinion, sometimes that's all it takes to leave a mark that's permanent, funny, and painfully accurate.
This dude spends every day whining about how Gen Z is too woke with their safe spaces, and now he's out here like the wallpaper is giving the president trauma. These fluorescent lights are literal.
In the end, Desi didn't just destroy Trump. She reminded everyone watching that humor, intelligence, and timing are still lethal weapons. That someone can take the absurdity of modern politics and turn it into art. That yes, you can take a larger-than-life ego and with nothing but words, expressions, and perfectly crafted irony, make it crumble in real time. Something undeniably satisfying. And that's the real takeaway. In a world where political chaos is the norm and absurdity reigns supreme, it's refreshing to see someone who knows exactly how to cut through it all, serve it on a silver platter, and do it in a way that makes us laugh until our sides hurt. And if you think this is over, think again. Moments like these don't just disappear, they linger. They get replayed. They get memed. They become part of the cultural highlight reel of times when Trump was hilariously outmaneuvered and humiliated by sheer wit alone. Desi Lydic didn't just have a segment, she created a phenomenon.
But one of his most personal feuds is with his own hometown, New York City.
New York has a problem. This is now a city in decline. Filthy dirty, the job they do is horrible. It's become a crime.
So next time you see Trump strutting into a room thinking he's in control, just remember, somewhere Desi Lydic is probably already planning her next verbal masterpiece. And it's going to be every bit as precise, savage, and hysterical as the last.
Honestly, we can't wait. And here's the kicker. Desi didn't just destroy Trump for a single laugh or a viral clip. Now, she created a ripple effect. It's the kind of performance that makes late-night hosts sweat, political analysts panic, and PR teams spontaneously combust. Every frame, every smirk, every subtle eyebrow raise was analyzed like it was the Rosetta Stone of political comedy. Memes exploded faster than you could say fact check. And naturally, the best ones didn't even need captions. A single screenshot of Trump blinking mid-joke sent people into therapy-level fits of laughter.
Use that Trump charm to put a ring on it.
It would really be a wonderful marriage because it's two places that get along very well. They like each other a lot.
Aww.
As you know from real estate, there are some places that...
And honestly, it's fascinating to watch a social media army dissect a live roast like it's the most important historical event of the decade. Spoiler, it kind of was. But let's not forget the psychological warfare at play. Trump thrives on attention, on dominating conversations, on making himself the epicenter of every room. Desi flipped that script like a professional magician yanking a tablecloth off a feast. Suddenly, Trump wasn't the star of the show. He was the punchline. There was no opposing politician, no CNN host, just one person armed with perfect timing, razor-sharp intellect, and just enough sass to make the rest of us weep with joy. And the genius of it all, Desi never stooped to name-calling or cheap jabs. There's no need. Trump provides all the material anyone could ever dream of. All she had to do was curate, refine, and deliver. It's like watching a sculptor transform a pile of clay into a masterpiece, except the clay is grandiosity, delusion, and an endless supply of ego.
Has been obsessed with making Canada the 51st state ever since he found out Epstein Island was not eligible. Well, today, Canada's new Prime Minister came to the White House, which gave Donald Trump an opportunity to make his...
By the end of it, the audience wasn't just laughing. They were witnessing a masterclass in turning absurdity into art. Even the smallest nods and micro-expressions packed a punch. One tiny smirk here, one perfectly timed pause there, and suddenly you could feel the entire room shift. It's the kind of nuanced comedy that demands brains, instinct, and zero fear. Fearless is right. Desi knew exactly what she was doing. She walked into a lion's den armed only with wit, and instead of getting eaten, she walked out wearing the crown. Meanwhile, Trump probably spent the next several hours trying to craft a response. Any attempt would have been feeble. How do you respond to someone who turns every word you've ever said into a comedic landmine? You don't. You retreat. You fumble. You hide behind Twitter drafts that will never see the light of day. Meanwhile, Desi's material is immortal. It will live on, circulate, and haunt like a polite but persistent ghost of truth.
Always think New York was in New York too. Back in the day, he thought it was in LA 10.
I have a special interest in New York. New York City is a hot city. It's a great city. It's the greatest city in the world. There's a greater energy in New York. There's a greater verve or a greater drive. New York City's the...
So, here's the takeaway. In a world where political theater is often predictable, where punchlines are recycled, and where absurdity has become the norm, Desi Lydic reminded us that brilliance still exists. Humor is still powerful, and yes, even Trump is not invincible. This wasn't just comedy. This was strategy, wit, and a subtle reminder that sometimes the pen or the perfectly timed joke is mightier than the ego it dismantles. And as we sit back watching the chaos and memes unfold, one can only imagine the upcoming headlines. Trump confused, outclassed, and possibly traumatized by comedic genius. Honestly, it's a headline that writes itself thanks to Desi's impeccable execution. The only question left is, what's next? Because if this performance is any indication, The next time Trump thinks he can waltz into public discourse unscathed, he's gonna get hit by a comedy nuke of epic proportions. And we're all gonna watch.